Hello, everybody. My name is HSR,
My name is Chris Chrome.
and this is Hungover Holden here, and it is episode 74 of the Headspace podcast. So
Clearly, you didn't wake up on the right side.
it's not lack of enthusiasm; it's alcohol depraving my body of water and that shit.
Yeah. I, however, slept well, guys.
That's lovely, dear. So here we are with some housekeeping to start off our episode. Basically, what we do here on this show is we take the album, which we'll discuss a bit later on, and we review it track by track from the perspective of some folk trying to understand the culture to get a bit of better knowledge on. So if you are coming here looking for experts who know a bunch of stuff, that's not us. We're like the opposite, just guys trying to find stuff in it. So this to give you some framing at the very beginning, just before. Next up, though, we do love to show love because that comment section is how we grow. So last week we did an episode with E40 and Be Legit's Connected and Respected, and we had a couple comments there. The one that we're going to show you right now is from Mr. Lindell Williams, who manages to comment on everything.
Thanks, Lindell. We do appreciate it.
It's true. They got a laid-back type of style in regards to E40 in them. It was bassy beats with each song, had a different type of sound production. Most of the songs had substance for discussion. I would say this album is a 4.2. Reason being, I think the album should have been shorter. It was 19 songs. It was a bit lengthy. You make a valid point, Lindell. But as I said on that review, if you dug it, you fucking loved it. I would say 13 songs long is the right length, etc. And that's a preference thing. For Lindell, and you kind of etc. Saying that when it goes over a 13 track, it usually takes away from the album being nice, and then you kind of get a little more repetitive, and then the sound production to make it super diverse is far more challenging, etc., etc. Great review. Thanks, Lindell. Awesome. Appreciate that comment. It always means a lot when you folk comment. And the reason I state that is because we do have the Grind to 1,000 subscribers contest happening right now. So we're at 994 as of recording this. Like every time I say this number and it gets closer, I get a little more excited, because we've been at this for like 4 months actually. No, it's not the best. No, it's not the best thing to say, but 4 months in. So it's like a big journey for us, a big thing. So how it works is if you are awesome and want to be my hero and subscribe to that channel, and then you like this video, and then you leave a comment related to like the review, us, the album, what your thoughts are, the culture. I mean, this guy has a lot of the discussion points. You enter into a contest, or it's a bit of a raffle. So I have taken all the time to go over all our videos, and I've probably got 95% of the comments posted on our channel on a list. And once we break past 1,000, I'm going to finish up that list. We're going to go on YouTube Live. I even just upped my internet for the occasion so we can stream proper.
There we go.
And we're going to go there. We're going to pull up that list. We're going to use a random number generator. And first prize is going to be $100 of Amazon gift card money. Plus, you get to request a review from us with whomever you want from the channel, and we'll do what I can to make that happen as quick as freaking possible, schedules permitting. Second prize will be $50 Amazon gift card money plus the review, and third prize is $25 plus the review, and this is all of a US dollar equivalents. For every video of ours that you comment and like from the beginning of time, so if you've already commented and liked, you already got an entry in just back in the day before this even was a thing. So we're going to break that 1,000 so fucking soon, as we're at 994 while recording this, and who knows, maybe when it's uploaded we've already done it. Then I'll give it another day or so just to get our ducks in a row and whatnot, and we'll make that happen. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you so much for being here in advance, and I think it's time to actually get into this week's episode. And this is a fucking exciting album because
Yes, it is.
Why don't you introduce it?
Well, for this week's exciting album review, we went with J. Cole's new album, KOD. But to be honest, I think everybody knew that was the album we're going at now since...
Because they clicked on it after seeing a thumbnail. But still,
I think it's like a trend we have. Like,
I look at it like this. Maybe one day you have this on random and it's just playing through in the background, and like you just kind of flow episode to episode, and maybe there is a little mystery sometimes, so who knows. You gotta take into consideration everybody, even if most people know what the fuck it is at the beginning. Still, this album got announced like out of fucking nowhere a couple days ago in one of the most amazing ways I think I've seen. Do you know what happened?
He went on Twitter and he put all I know is J. Cole went on Twitter and put a set of rules about a startup show, a secret show he was holding, and he basically performed this.
Well, it was like more of an audio list. Like he played the CD. That's
He was there. He was there because they got some kids.
He was there, but did he?
I saw there's a kid who got a cell phone video, and I watched the video. J. Cole was actually on stage performing. Nobody was supposed to have a cell phone, but some kid brought a cell phone, and we don't always listen to rules.
Yeah. But yeah, it was it was just dropped on Twitter. It was basically like, London, I'm here, secret listening party. First come, first serve. Buy your ticket there. They'll show up and whatever. I'm not telling you where it is. And then everybody went, and now there's an album out, and there's been lots of little talks going on all over the YouTubes. Guys like Blackie Speaks and them are all, we'll have them some chit chats going on at the very beginning, practically right at the beginning of the album. J. Cole fed it proper for the media machine. I don't know. We can talk a lot about how we know J. Cole, but I mean, my quick version is I really like Forest Hills Drive. I like a few singles. We reviewed For Your Eyes Only. I think thematically it's amazing, but some of the songs felt only appropriate while listening to the album, and I haven't gone back to it much, and that's just it. They're all well written, but it was a little dry. And yeah, so
I don't want to say a little dry. I have actually recently went back to it just to kind of get back into that J. Cole feel when we knew this album was going to be dropping. And to be honest, his last one was more softer, I'd say. This one, and we're going to definitely get into it and do what we do, but the last album felt more lovey, more romantic, more for his like his family, his wife, trying to like appeal to this family caring nature of it, and I mean, even with the title, like For Your Eyes Only, it felt personal, it felt more to him. And just to kind of segue onto this album is already, with the title, there's already multiple things going on with it. KOD has multiple things that it stands for, as far as I've seen.
No, it's not just that. It's J. Cole tweeted it. He so it's King Overdose, it's Kill Our Demons, and
Kids on Drugs.
Kids on Drugs, and then whatever else you can possibly interpret from it. So it's very open, and it's meant to be. So, okay, a good way to look at it is For Your Eyes Only is a very personal album to J. Cole, a story he felt he had to tell. And it is, not to disrespect it, it is a really excellent story, and I'm not trying to like take away from the story. It's just at a song-per-song level, there are quite a few songs I felt myself not really. I felt like over time I was listening to some of them less, whereas 3 or 4 of them really stuck with me.
Fair enough.
Whereas Forest Hills Drive, it was like practically the whole album was just solid.
But if I didn't listen to Forest Hills Drive's the entire thing, but if the singles that I listened to, like it was pretty much like a trap, not a trap, but like. It was like a banger album. Like it was more like
it was special. It was a really cool experience. I mean, I think it was also relative to what was popping at the time. It was part of the charm of Forest Hills Drive. Either way, we'll talk about that on another day. I don't know his older work that much. I know a few of the singles, but that's about it. But yeah, as far as this album came, so it just kind of dropped out of nowhere as far as we're all concerned. I find it's really hard to pick these new album reviews because to find something that we're both interested in but that you're also interested in always seems like a challenge. But based on the activity on the Genius page, I think everybody's kind of caring about J. Cole at the moment, which is cool. And if you look at this album cover, it's not really a huge wonder why people are kind of... This is... possibly one of the coolest album covers I've seen. I've seen a lot of hate for it actually online, but
really,
yeah, I've seen people kind of criticizing how obvious it is or it was a mistake or whatever. I fucking love it. I think it's kind of like the message it's communicating is so clear that even I, in my non-caring about album covers, can look at this and in 2 seconds see what the fuck he's trying to convey.
And what do you see?
Well, you have a bunch of kids doing drugs.
Right.
I'm going to ignore the color of the kids and the drugs they're doing. To me, I don't know if there's a meaning there. I've seen some people speculate theories on that.
Right.
But you have a kid doing blow, a kid sipping lean, a kid smoking a blunt, and a kid with some
Xanax.
Some bars on his tongue. I was trying to find the right word. I'm not really into that side. I guess it's bars. Anyway, and then as you go up, you'll see that it's some like a kid that's kind of half dead, and then some more kids, and this is.
I feel like they're forming. I feel like they're kind of forming into death.
Yeah, and it's like the closer they get to this King rapper guy. So J. Cole faded out of his fucking mind. King overdose.
Yeah, he's always got his eyes rolled back, and it's like he just
it's
the
like
emphasis on
pinky up like some regal motherfucker, and like it's all colorful and back like a drug trip. Like this is a nightmare happening as all these kids, as they get closer to the music or the rap scene or whatever, or the hip hop culture in this particular subgenre's messages it sells, they just get led closer to death. And I mean, it's almost like as a rapper, I contribute to this, possibly, you know, but and in another sense, it's almost criticizing the drug culture that surrounds it. I think it, just above and everything else, it looks so cool. I'd put that on my fucking wall as a poster.
What did you think about the advertisement at the top?
What advertisement?
It says
Holy
this
fuck,
album is in no way intended to glorify addiction.
I get where he's coming from.
And I think having that title on top of the photo and the album cover I feel like J. Cole is trying to express the extreme dangers of whatever drug consumption or addiction that could be possible, but also setting up the whole entire tone of what the album is going to be. That's what I got from when I saw it, because I saw it like there's...
Oh shit! I didn't even catch that. I think that it's a necessary thing. I think it's a matter of, in case there was any doubt in anyone's mind, J. Cole imprinted into this. This is not in the positive direction. I mean, because I can see how a lot of people would be, oh, this is fucking hype, man.
I mean, if we just were to break it down, the way that I kind of see it, and I saw it the first way, and this is how it makes sense to me. The first way when I saw it, I was like, well, that's kind of like the life of a rapper, right? You do drugs, you get rich, you become a king. But now when I read the title, and I well, not the title, but that warning or whatever he says at the top, however you want to call it, I kind of look at it and it's like, is it really, I feel like now the cover is describing, like, is it really worth doing all of these actions to become what successful but dead inside?
Yeah.
If you really like kind of play off the crown and the eyes rolled back, and how inside of J. Cole you got all these dead memories of kids and like how he grew up and stuff. Like, it just really spoke to me on a different level. It was crazy.
All I have to say, I think that we both felt that this was one of the best album covers that we've talked about here in a minute, mostly because there was a lot to talk about. Because you know why? This is a concept album. And I think, well, I'd say a loose concept album, maybe not like a Kendrick Lamar damn Pulitzer Prize concept album, but no. I mean, that was a clear story thing. This is more of a open commentary thing.
What do you mean by story? I felt like every song on Damn itself at least had a driven narrative. It's on its own.
Yeah, but they also fulfilled a bigger narrative. Whereas this one also fulfills a bigger narrative, but it's not so much to move a linear plot as much as it's to express a certain flow of emotions and ideas, which we'll get into. Is that
okay?
I might be wrong though. Like, keep in mind, I bumped this a bunch since it came out, a couple of times, like let's say four times I've heard it now, and that's as far as I've gotten. So call this a first reactions. Don't take this all too seriously.
To be fair, let's just also justify that. A lot of our Headspace reviews are first reactions.
Yeah,
most of the albums come out on Friday, and
but that's not really a justifying point. I mean, we choose to do it like this. We choose not to sit on them. We choose this. They know that. But if you do look at our dates, you'll often see that. Anyway, so let's talk about the fucking intro.
Laughter, which says, I love this.
All right, tell us about the intro, Chris.
So the intro, right off the bat, you got this, and it was kind of emphasized, but I got this like melodic, loungy, relaxing type, getting in your own type of bubble mood. And I think it's supposed to make the listener exclude themselves from the world and really dive into what J. Cole is trying to get you to listen to. And he did a really great job at that. You got a female narrator, explaining kind of like the primary functions of a baby, which ties into, again, the concept.
Man, it's even better. She's like, babies have got two primary modes of function. They have laughter, which is used to express love, and crying, which is used to express pain.
Definitely.
There are many ways to deal with pain. choose wisely.
And actually, I really like when they went, there are many ways to deal with pain, choose wisely. And it's kind of repeated at the end of the intro, because that a lot of
I think
what
it's
we're
only
going.
at the end. Anyway, go on.
Well, it's repeated. It's repeated at the end.
I'm sorry I'm hungover today. Bear with me, people.
But it does set up and kind of bring together what we're going to be getting from this album, what we're kind of looking at, and how we're going to be dealing with. We can think already depression. We can think already, death and addiction, as we already may know from the title, drugs, pain, from what we get from the album cover. But the way that they're expressing to choose wisely on certain decisions just kind of resonated with me, and kind of like you got to take ownership for what you're doing.
May I add to what you're saying, please?
Of course.
Even if you think about the very first words, can someone please turn off my mind? My thoughts are racing all the time. There's no reason or no rhyme. I'm trapped inside myself, which is kind of what's said in a faded, lower volume, kind of almost hush singing at the very beginning. And it really just reinforces what you're saying. I believe that you and J. Cole are in synchrony here.
Right.
Keep going.
Oh, that was really it.
I was just agreeing with you.
I gave it a 4 on 5. I think it was a really strong intro, a good start to the album, and kind of clarifying what he's trying to say. It wasn't just some generic intro like, hey guys, we're back at it, or whatever. It was really to get you in that vibe, you need to disconnect from the outside world. You need to sit down and listen to what I'm saying and understand it and feel it and get into it. It was very powerful. I gave it a 4.
That's fair. My first thoughts are, I'm not necessarily huge on the choice of music from a preference point of view, albeit it's extremely well composed and really well put together to create the experience that Chris was just describing, where you're supposed to be brought into it. And I love the message. The message is very interesting as it really approaches the fact is, that life kind of boils down into love and pain. And you get the idea that right away, even if there's all this drug talk or whatever else, this album is really going to just kind of be about how to deal with, love and pain, right? And everything else is just a coping mechanism for finding shit in the middle. And it's cool to see that, right? I guess with this era of drug music and such, to see a guy actually come in and drop an album to maybe speak on the other side of the fence here for a minute, but to come at it from a place of compassion, almost he didn't frame it like an attack. It's kind of coming in as look, we have a lot to talk about, and I'm going to go and bring them back to the very basics. I understand what y'all are dealing with, is what he's trying to convey. I'm actually reading that book right now by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I swear to fucking God, this entire album is taken from the approach of how that book is put into perspective. So even from this introduction, he takes a step back to almost empathize and to kind of start it off softly. There's a lot of ways to deal with pain, and then choose wisely repeated. Because you have the choice. It's you ultimately who has the choice. And then KOD before moving into the track of that one. But we're not quite there yet. But even part of that, it was just a really excellent introduction for this album. I give it a 4.5 on 5 because as far as introductions for a specific album goes, I think it really fits. I don't know what else he could have done. I did feel a couple of things felt a little dammy. Like it felt like he took a couple of chicks from Dam there and stuck it in. I'm going to put it out there. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think this is a cool way to create these narrative concepts that you can draw and make your album. And you'll see what I mean, I guess, as it goes on if you heard it. But the effects...
Play on I mean, there's this whole thing between Kendrick and Cole right now.
I don't even want
right now, but
there was
this
subliminals
thing, so.
I hear through the internet. I don't really care about Kendrick versus J. Cole, to be honest. If they had a beef personally,
fair.
My level of caring is, well, if they ever drop real diss tracks at each other, okay.
But I wanted to bring back when you were saying the love and the pain. I'm sitting here thinking a lot of the new music that I hear is dealt with, I use drugs to cope with pain, or I don't know how to deal with my girlfriend, or I don't know how to deal with whatever, whatever love I'm feeling. And it clicked. Like, it just clicked with me, and it's really. I think he's like trying to send out like he is acknowledging this is something we need to discuss in a more mature manner instead of just how we've been discussing it or going towards it. Yeah.
And I think he frames it in a good starting tone. Either way, 4.5 on 5. Let's talk about the title track. Let's talk about Killing Our Demons, or King Overdose, or
Kids on Drugs. KOD, let's go.
Blowing my high, they want to reply. The number one question is how? How does it feel now that you won? How much?
Okay, so we start getting into like the actual music now. And how did you feel about this one?
I love this song. This was such a catchy song, that trappy feel to it, that those drums, that vibe, that bass. It was just so fun to listen to. Right off, he kind of repeats like go in the intro, and for a moment it sounded like goat. And I thought that was really cool. Like, he's calling himself the GOAT, like he's being braggadocious about it. He's like, I'm king, I'm on top. And
Good catch. Good catch. Did y'all catch that? Did you see that? Do you think he's right?
Just to kind of emphasize on that, in the first verse, he starts talking about like how people kind of start seeing him and how they're like kind of treating him and how they look at him differently. And he's like, J. Cole kind of makes it a point to be like, look, I'm doing my shit. Like, I'm on my own flex. I'm doing my own thing, and I'm in my own lane, and I don't really need you. As for a line, how come you won't get any few features? How come you won't get a few features? I think you should. How about I don't? How about you just get off? How about you just get the fuck off my dick? How about you listen and never forget? And he's basically saying like people are trying to get him to do features and people are making suggestions to him, but he's just kind of here like, I don't need features. I'm this good, and how about you just listen to what I have to say instead of always thinking of a better way to help me out.
And on top of that, like just the couple of lines right before that, the number one question is how does it feel now that you're on? Now that you're on, come on, let's do the features. How much you worth? How big is your home? And then how, etc. And go on. I just thought it was like it really adds to it because he's already dealing with like a high level of genericism in his life, followed up by almost branding in those following lines that he is the mark of distinction, and like he goes on in the lines right after to basically say like, you guys aren't even on my level. You can't like you can't
people
even,
ain't worthy to be on my shit.
And that's like he's just bluntly putting it. And if you go listen to like let's say the solo accomplishment of a Forest Hills Drive, and then you go put on like a Culture 2 or something, there is, let's say, a quality difference for the one metric of distinction. Okay. Anyway, go on, Chris.
Well, I was just saying, like, I like how he brought that topic up because there is a lot of songs out there that have a lot of features, and there's a lot of albums coming out that have a lot of features on them included. And I feel like nowadays it depends. For me, what I'm seeing, it depends on who you're featured with. Now, you always have to have that hottest feature with you, the hottest person in the spotlight, who's ever there.
Just to add to that, there are names that I only know because they featured with people that we do, and it's probably like a good way to give exposure to these people, but like I only know what Ty Dolla $ign is because he's like the chorus guy that so many people have to have on their album.
Right. Another really hard line that I liked was, if practice made perfect, I'm practice's baby. And that stuck with me when J. Cole said that, because he's really bringing home the fact that, you need to work at your craft. You can't live in this like, oh, all right, I can spit a couple bars and I got this, or I can flip this and I got this. Like, you really need to master your technique. You really need to practice and practice and practice. And driving that point home just also emphasizes, like, if you're not going to practice, then why are you even trying to even be better like me? Why are you even trying to be on top of that? And then in the outro, we have a little bit of a list of certain sins or addictions or stuff that is kind of circulating. We got power, greed, money, molly, weed, perks, Xannies, lean, fame, and then the strongest drug of them all, love.
The strongest drug of them all, love.
And I like how he ran off a lot of like superficial things and then some narcotic things and ended with love, because
it's a little more fascinating than that, because albeit love is probably the next immediate subject, he then proceeds to describe things on the album in the order of power, greed, drug use, fame, and that is like the kind of a sequence of just exploring the topics. Allegedly, that's what I saw on the internet. I was trying to wrap my head around that a bit, and I saw a bit of a flow to that. Anyway.
Well, overall, I actually really enjoyed this song. I like his flair to it. I like his energy. And I'm not going to lie, I enjoy the trap beats to it. So I gave it a 4.5 on 5. This is something I'm going to keep going back to.
See, I looked at this song, and I gave it a 4.5 on 5 too, just to start. But for me, that's almost one of the lower. Like, to me, it's like it just missed a little bit over the sound. I love what he's doing. I feel like J. Cole's at a point in his career where he seems to be more interested in making a point than he is in making a banger. So this is an ironic trap song in that sense, right?
Right.
I'm like, this is what you call a flip. 10 keys from a quarter break. Bentley's from his mama's whip. KOD hot. I mean, he repeats that 4 times. That alone was a little bit annoying the 3rd or 4th time I heard this song. Aside from that, the song's brilliant. I really do dig the point of it, like the message of it. The bars of it are so interesting. Like, that first verse has him responding to other rappers. I mean, y'all are aware of Lil Pump and others maybe going at lyrical hip-hop, and specifically Lil Pump's Fuck J. Cole song that came out. So in his mind, he's like, oh, wait, these little guys, I've never even said anything, and they're coming at me, you know? And then he's, like, responding to him a little bit in that first verse, but I really kind of then like how he flips into the second verse, and he's like kind of rapping, I think, a little bit between himself, like thinking back on his past and the realities that he saw growing up in the 80s and like his stuff, but like also rapping from the perspective of, let's say, this King Overdose figure who, you know, like as an example, when he's like, yeah, at this shit daily, sip so much activists, I convince activists they should pay me. So activists being the company that pushed the promethazine lean shit for the longest time until they discontinued it. But like, so at that point, you almost see how like he's taking on the persona of a guy who is the stereotype of a rapper.
Right.
So in that first verse, he's almost like, I'm like, I can't even be on the same level as y'all. And then in the second verse, kind of almost comments directly on the, let's say, the image of the people who want to be associated with him. And he's almost expressing that given where he come from and what he's seen, this is a little bit of a conflict. And these drug-fueled rappers is not necessarily, you know, his favorite. I didn't quote a lot more out of this. I think that the whole track is pretty freaking well done. I think the part at the end with the list is super interesting. If you guys can like map out how these words fit to specific songs, that would be cool. I saw a few people are convinced about this theory. I was able to map a couple of ideas and I'll express it there, but like frankly, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I give this, like I said, a 4.5, mostly because the beat, it felt like a spaced out on purpose, you know, experience, and I like what he did. So from the perspective of him doing what he's trying to do, I highly admire it. From the me going back to it, already I'm getting a feeling like this is an album I have to be in a mood for, which is kind of what I felt with For Your Eyes Only I like this more, and I'm more likely to be in the mood for something like ironic trap music, we'll call it, than say the hyper personal of the other album. This was more relatable, I suppose, because I'm watching this culture play out now that I'm paying attention, and it's super fucking interesting. I'm talking about pop mainstream rap. I'm not talking about like anything else. Anyway, I have a lot more there. You want to talk about some photographs?
Let's go ahead.
Love song.
Yeah, I shoot my shot in the brick. Yeah, niggas be talking so slick. Yeah, I'm not the nigga for.
Okay, like right off the jump, what an interesting perspective piece here. And that is super cool to get the perspective piece of guy obsessing over girl on Instagram/Facebook who he's never even met. And that's a cool fucking song, right? Like that is just not something you get. Like, I think where J. Cole's going to get the most points out of me is the I haven't heard a song that said that before kind of moment, you know? Like, this might be the first song I've heard that so well covered this particular subject matter in terms of...
But I feel like this is a specific subject. Like, okay, so what I got from this, one of the lines went in, and I think it's in the chorus, when he goes, "Love today's gone digital and it's messing with my health."
Yeah.
Now, that for me, that line was like, okay, we're talking about Tinder, freaking, you know, Instagram, all these places where you see photos and all this stuff. But now,
it's like you gotta like take a look at the whole chorus, right?
Right,
I don't think you can just pick that line. So like, fell in love through photograph.
Yep.
I don't even know your name.
Right.
So like, I mean, let's just say pre-2014. I remember clearly seeing a girl on the internet, and you like, wow. You never met this girl.
Dibs.
You hit add. She says yes. Next thing you know, you get real excited when you like see her pop up.
But isn't that what he questions though? Wondering if she's gonna follow back.
So, and that's what he's saying. He's wondering that. So when you hit the ad, are you wondering is she, or like especially on Instagram where it's not like friend requests. I didn't use it. So in the modern era, I guess you'd say you follow her on Instagram. You secretly hope she checks you out, peeps you, follows you back, which is like a positive move.
Hold on. I just also want to put another thing on that. What if it's also like, you're not following her, but that thought of like, would this person follow me? Like that self-conscious thought, like you're looking at the photo
So
and
you
you're
know
like,
what? I'm going to say all of this
Right.
is encompassed in
Right.
what this song is trying to convey.
Absolutely.
And then I hope to see you one day. I won't show my people. Now I'll keep this one for myself. Then loves. So it's kind of like you see this person, you're taking a shit one day. Let's be real. You're probably pooping by yourself, creeping the gram. We've all been there. And you see some girls, you know, or boys, if you're one of the ladies, or if you're gay.
2018, guys.
You see some person that you're attracted to, and you creep them. You hit the follow, then they show up in your like feed, and you're like, yay! But like, you're never gonna talk to this person because you're a coward. You're just a thirsty little creeper. Now I don't do this anymore, but I remember the days when that was a prevalent part of, let's say, my thirsty younger self. So that was super relatable because that shit definitely predates Instagram and is a super fascinating chorus. But yeah, go on, Chris. How else do you feel?
So there's this one line that really stuck with me. When he goes, I think you mastered the art of sublime. Your type is harder to find. You can turn water to wine. Yeah. And for a moment, I was like, that is empowering. But why is it empowering? And then it clicked. Filters, photo filters, all of these things that make people look 10 times better than what they really look like in real life. And
let's go with like 3 or 4 times better.
Listen, I've seen myself with a filter on, and I'm 10 times better than what I look like.
Okay, go on.
But that really sat with me because in that moment when you see somebody and on, like, for me, it'll be a girl on Instagram and I'm like, damn, like this one's really, really attractive, but is it really her? Or is this a bunch of 80 freaking edited Photoshop filter, whatever it is, that's making her look what I think I want to see? You know what I mean?
And yeah, just to add to that, if we take the part in the verse where it's like, damn, I love your sense of humor. You don't get caught up in rumors. You don't be talking about who fucking who. And I noticed the way you maneuver sexy but never show too much. And heard from you in like 2 months. Obviously, you pop in my line. You can make time stop on a dime. I think he's just to like add to the filters. It's also like, oh, the memes you post are particularly funny and I feel them. And the way that you position yourself, you're not putting people on blast, you're not behaving in a certain way, so you get this sense of almost this imagined personality of the people that you encounter when you go look at the profile. And
it's interesting to think of that because there, like, even myself, and I'm only going to speak for myself, of course, I scroll through Facebook and see certain people who post some memes and I'm just like, damn, like that's how you feel, like that's how you really think, like we would really get along together. And it's that, and I've been in that position. I have
the opposite feeling happen more often.
Really?
I see memes and I'm like, oh go
anyway. But like I do can relate to that feeling of like wondering like when you feel like on the internet personality, you and that person would be able to connect, but then you meet up with that person and it's like completely different outside of what we've created on the internet in a sense. Like I feel like we're in this world where we're supposed to be these internet characters and our real people, our real characters of who we are don't really matter anymore. And that's part of what I'm getting from this song. It's like, yeah, love's gone digital, but what else has gone digital? It's like life is just all about who you are now digitally.
Well, and then if you also just take into consideration that this album is exploring the various drugs of life.
Addictions. of life.
I would say drugs is a fair way of describing that. I mean,
Well, social media is not a drug; it's more of an addiction. And
well,
Instagram,
I
Twitter.
honestly, okay, why I can say drugs is because, I mean, if you look at the chemical endorphin release in your brain on Instagram when you get likes and shit, it
Yeah.
is very comparable to drugs. So you're right. It is not literally a drug, but I will figuratively stick with my use of the drugs of this album because he chose to list love right next to lean and Molly. So I think the idea of this synthesized love that we create through our imaginations are like a fair comparison to being on drugs.
Fair
you
enough.
know?
Yeah.
And like even if you okay, like I don't know, we haven't even brought it up yet, but the like little pre-chorus part, the folk be talking so slick. I'm not ready for I'm not the for lip. Putting my heart in a click, can't see my heart, it don't fit. Don't think I'm built for this shit. Too busy thinking what if I shoot my shot and it brick. And this part's really interesting because again, a younger me lacked a lot of confidence, right? And I didn't know how to approach women. I didn't know how to, let's say, be anything other than that thirsty guy that would be like, hey, you're beautiful. And that doesn't do good because, as you'll find out later on, that's what gets you shot down and shit, right? And you look at guys and you look around and see how suave people are and how well they can talk and stuff. And here he's really just kind of like saying inside of yourself, you just kind of trick yourself into believing that you are not able to approach this person. So here you're really getting the cowardice. So you have this whole obsession. This person is like staring at this person, this whole personality they've defined about this person behind them. But when push comes to shove, they just don't even believe they can actually talk to them or whatever, right? And then yeah, like the whole
But
like
I think, and that I took it as like that's why we do social media. That's why, and that's part of the point. Like it's easier for us to talk to each other over a
but
screen.
this is still like he doesn't even talk to the person. Right? Because, like,
Yeah,
check the second
right.
verse. Like, feel like I got to say something. Thought of you got my heart jumping, but I can't come up with nothing. But I can't come up with nothing. I put it off for a day. I come back around your way, searching for what I could say that accurately would convey the way I feel in the world.
Right.
So it's more like, at least for what this song is kind of conveying, is more like you're sitting there and you're staring at this girl's pictures like every single fucking day.
As if you're staring at the same girl who in your gym class or whatever it is.
But like, yeah, and instead of that, you just don't even say hi to her over the fucking internet.
And that's the connection I'm also trying to get at. It's like our social media lives have become what our real lives have become. It's like we're too nervous to, like, in the context of talking, in the context of like this story where you're trying to talk to the guy or the girl you're trying to get with, right? Or you're trying to like. It's like you're too afraid to walk up and talk to that person, but now you're too afraid to click a button and follow that person.
Like, there's
or
a bit of a difference, right? Because back when you're staring at the girl creepily in the gym class, she sees you. She sees you staring at her, so she knows you're a creep. And then she like can identify that. Here
but now we can click the like. Like now you can actually.
But I don't think this guy.
To...
I don't think this guy's hitting hearts, dude.
Fair enough.
Like,
I feel
like
that.
This is a guy who is ghost. This girl doesn't know he exists. Maybe he hit the follow. She followed him back. Oh, snag. And then nothing. It's just
a follow for a follow.
No, but he's waiting. He checks his timeline every day just to see if she posts a picture. Ah, she posts a picture. He stops everything, stares at it. Gets lost in his mind. 10 minutes goes by. Oh, I wish I had the courage to talk to her. Oh, I wish I could go at her and stuff like that. And then, like, he just doesn't because he's a coward, as is conveyed by the other parts of the song, because he doesn't have an ability to even recognize what love is. So essentially what I think this track is trying to say is we like visualize these false images of people we never really meet, we never talk to them, and we've kind of boiled love into this fake bullshit that's fed like through Instagram based off of behaviors like this. And you're right, I think it is just the cyber version of being afraid to talk to a girl like you would have heard about 10 years ago in a song, you know?
Right.
So you're right about that, but I think it's just a little bit worse almost. I gave it a 5 on 5. I thought it was so interesting. I thought it was this one was like really fucking like a step above, well made. I could see myself bumping this track just as like a standalone track. It totally fits within this album. But look how much we had to talk about from this one little song here. What a fucking cool perspective piece that's really relevant. Like, this is some John Lennon protest shit, you know?
I gave it a 4 on 5. It's a great song. It's just, it's not a standalone track. Like, I'm going to KOD. I'm going to like other tracks on this album first. Like, I don't really ever catch myself kind of being like, you know what? I'm in the mood to listen about how I can't get such and such, or I want to feel like that. Like, I
like songs that make me think.
Fair enough.
That's fine. I just cut off Chris.
Yeah.
Apology. I'ma be the bigger man just like I always be.
So this track's featuring Kill Edward. Let's get it out of the way. For the rest of this review, we're going to call him J. Cole. Why? Because, like, there's no proof that it's J. Cole.
But it's a like, play, and it's funny because it's a play on the fact that that in the first track, KOD, the first actual track, people are telling him he needs to get features, and he's basically like, listen, bitch, the only feature I need is myself.
And so apparently this is an alter ego. Fun fact, and I didn't listen to it, he even released a track as Kill Edward, like right before the album to almost validate this is a real artist. It's apparently just distorted voice J. Cole. Now, if I'm wrong and we find out that there is a real Kill Edward, oops. But like whatever.
Yo, just let us know in the comments if we have reason to believe this.
But I'm just gonna say the other J. Cole or some shit just to address it now. But what a good campaign, because as Chris said, it's a good fuck you to like everybody out there.
Yeah.
But what did you think of this song?
Honestly, this is the song where, for me, this is the song where J. Cole basically breaks down that you need to cut certain people and certain things out of your life. Straight up, the cutoff. It's cutting off the type of negativity, but it's. I don't feel like it's proactive. I feel like, as he mentions in the song, it's like time is gonna tell. Time will eventually show you who is really there for you, who's really gonna be. But he to get into the song, he's got this nice soft piano loungy sound that kind of keeps consistent with this type of vibe, kind of keeping you in this like, you got to stay with me, you got to listen, you got to be there. I like the soft tone in J. Cole's voice. It doesn't have that like rappy feel to it. It's more of just like, he's kind of like spoken word in a sense. I like when he went, I know heaven is a mind state. I've been a couple times stuck in my ways, so I keep on falling down, down.
That's King Edward.
And King Edward.
Okay, look, for the sake of talking about the song, I mean, the guy behind it might be the same, but King Edward is a separate perspective than J. Cole's voice. So King Edward, when you hear him, like he's just the opposite of almost how J. Cole.
I feel like J. Cole King Edward sounds. Is the druggy.
He's the King
persona,
Overdose guy.
Like the one who's in the negative.
He's King Overdose. Think about it.
Well, yes, he's the negative druggy, you know? The guy who's overdosing.
Give me the, better not. I can go. You better, I don't know. You know?
But again, like the concept of, I know heaven is a mind state. You're probably happy and really optimistic when you're on drugs. You're probably in a safe haven when you're cracked out of your mind or you're feeling in a different way. So, like, you know, you've been a couple of times, every time you take your narcotics or you do your stuff, and because you're stuck in those ways, you keep falling down, and it's kind of giving you this loop like, look, you get high, you sober up, you get high, you sober up, and it's this constant loop that you're really not getting anywhere. You're not really doing anything. You're pausing yourself for that however long, whatever drug you're on. And that's kind of where I get the perspective, okay, we'll say it, kill Edward. But then when J. Cole, the J. Cole character or perspective comes in, on verse 1, I like it when he goes, I send the bread, don't hear back for like 2 months now. You hit my phone, you need a loan. Oh, I'm a crutch now. And I feel like playing with the two personas, you're getting like this this one persona who's like, I'm stuck in my ways and I need help. And then this other persona who's like, I want to help you, but you're not really trying to help yourself. So now you're just using me as like a band-aid, a crutch, as the background where you can fall on me. And I'm starting to feel certain ways about that. I'm here to be your brother. I'm not here to be your servant or your maid or your nurse in a sense, you know? I'm not here to take care of you. I'm here to reciprocate whatever you're giving back to me. And that really stuck with me, because I've been there where I've given people money and I haven't heard from them in like 2-3 months, and it's just like, wow, really? That's what it takes for you to leave me the fuck alone? Like, I'm gonna say it straight. Like, I just gotta give you cash. Like, that's pretty selfish. That's pretty low.
Can I have some cash?
Will you leave me alone?
Yeah, I think it's the other way around here. Anyway, sorry, go on.
No, but I do enjoy this song, and I like how he gives us I like the different perspectives, and I like how he gives us both sides and trying to show like the actual problem here is that it's not just one person, it's two people being affected, and that's always the case of every scenario. It's never just somebody alone. It's always you, and now someone else is affected, and whatever you're doing is affecting someone else.
Okay. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 4.
So I think that on the one hand, this is like a song exploring a bit of power, is what I took based on the adjective list that J. Cole gave us.
How do you see that?
So if we take a look at King Edward's part, this is what you do from a position of power. Give me all the drugs. Give me. I want it fucking now. I got to get fucked up because I can't cope. And I don't know. I like the if I die, I don't know. I believe that alludes back to the previous album, and there was a similar line on one of the tracks. Like I do. So then if you look at J. Cole, though, after we hear this whole like kind of King Edward almost representing what the average person in his position, the average rapper these days, kind of contextualizes what that position of power is like. You then kind of have J. Cole responding with how he approaches the situation and how he uses his power. Like, yeah, I got some folk that still owe me an apology. I'm going to be the bigger man just like I always be eventually. But right now it's hard for me. I'm dreaming violent. I can't tolerate disloyalty. So he's in a position of power and has these things that I feel like he's dealing with, etc. And he kind of goes through his perspective a bit on that, to where the part where you quoted, if you like right before it, he's like, my heart is big, I want to give too much, and usually, he sends the bread, doesn't hear back, and then etc. I had to learn, I never had shit, you never would split, you was hood rich, I couldn't get $1 from you, I remember that, it was blurry for a while, but now it's coming back. And then you just kind of get the sense where he remembers being powerless when he had these situations, and then he remembers kind of like, and it's all tied into like the other themes of money and drugs and everything together, but this one's almost like focusing on what you do with that power is what I took a little bit. And then I do like when he, as King Edward, he's like, I know heaven is a mine, state I've been a couple of times stuck in my ways, I keep falling down, and then the whole time is on my side. I mean well, but I can't stop my pride. And I think with that, like, you just get the sense that this person is on a loop with the drugs, as Chris described. Whereas J. Cole seems to have this more clearer perspective, who's kind of addressing the fact that there's still almost a little bit of malice between him and the industry, and that things aren't necessarily.
It feels like a really toxic friendship between the two personas. In a
Yeah, like
sense.
he's kind of describing that there is a reason for the distance between him, let's say, and maybe other folk in the industry. I gave this one a 4.5. I thought it was pretty well made. Again, subject matter super interesting and stuff. The chorus is like really good, but again, it has almost that ironic mocking tone to it, which is okay for me sometimes, but is super hard for me to call that a 5 on 5. The next one isn't actually about money to me. I think it's more about greed. Let's talk about the ATM.
Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it, count it up, count it up, count it up.
When you guys heard ATM, what did you guys fucking hear? Actually, I heard automatic transaction machine, and Chris apparently heard at the moment.
Well, I kind of looked at both. I was like, okay, ATM, it could be about money, and then he clarifies it with the chorus going, count it up, count it, count it up, count it. So we know it's about money.
And then you got count it.
Right, in the intro. But at the same time, I'm also thinking, like, I may have kind of overglorified it, but I was like, okay, J. Cole could have put, you know, a double meaning under this or something. So I thought maybe at the moment.
Fucking triple meaning on the title.
Right?
And this time, I think you're totally fair game. He told you to use your imagination and interpret in its
I got to go all Chris Chrome on it, guys.
He told you to.
But, I part of me can still feel like it's about money. Like we were saying,
it is.
He repeats like count it up on the chorus and kind of emphasizing like we're all trying to chase money. But I think
it's about the chase.
But it's the chase at this moment,
which is the greed,
right? And that's
not so much the money.
And that's how we all got back on that. I like when he goes, life can bring much pain. There are many ways to deal with this pain. Choose wisely. It's
just the shit from the beginning. Our first real Kendrick move.
Right? So that coming back. Will I fall? Will I fly? Heal my soul. Fulfill my high. Cross my heart. Count it. Count it. Count it. Okay. And hope I die with my slice of devil's pie. And the devil's pie part, it's like, that was clear to me. Pie is good. Devil's bad, sinful things that we all want to do and
it's
have.
It's apparently a reference to a D'Angelo song from 2000.
Oh, I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. But I was just saying, I think it's also a very specific reference to that song, exploring how the lust for money is everything you're saying, but really about like how money becomes the devil's pie, and we all just want our piece of it. Like if you.
But it's also like just how we go about it as well. Like what we're trying to go for. I like how he kind of alludes to people sipping lean, and also making money illegally on these type of sinful pleasures. Like we know it's killing us. We know that this is bad, but we still try to do it. With even verse 2, the way he starts off, he's like, proceed with caution. I heard if you chase it, only results in a hole in your heart. Fuck it. I take the whole cake and I won't leave a portion. It's only an organ. And, you know, I've actually heard somebody say that while sipping lean. I'm not even going to lie about that. And it scared me.
That's what it is?
Yeah. Because it scared me because you're sipping lean and it's going to your kidneys or your wherever. I don't really know the human body. I'm sorry. But like it's going to your kidney or your pancreas, and that's not really good for your body.
It's only an organ, Chris.
And it's that scares me to think that people are willing to go out and
idea that's what that means.
Kill yourself for this pleasure. Kill yourself to feel that slowed downness.
And especially if your occupation is to literally sip lean on a quest to get money, because it will actually get you paid. Say what you will. In an odd sense, doing drugs can get you paid more than you'd think. You might kill yourself in the middle, but I can see how being a user actually puts you into opportunities for a while where you get money, and then you fuck up your life.
I also kind of just wanted to take it to a second level a little bit, and I feel like he's also trying to express with that line, the organ line, that this is kind of how people have started looking at themselves nowadays. Like, oh, I'm just a vessel. I'm just a body. Yeah. I'm just a pair of this. Like you're like how we sexualize women or how women sexualize men. It's like we're just this. We're not Holden or Chris like, anymore.
I'm willing to chop off a finger. I'll get like $100 million. It's only an organ.
Please, apparently, if you sell a testicle, you get $1 million.
Apparently, if you look at Facebook, everybody's willing to do everything for X amount of money in the creepiest house with all the cockroaches.
Right.
And like, yeah, no, that's a fair point.
So that's kind of how I got it, and just to wrap up my point, I also want to talk about the music video. It is
stellar.
Yeah, very stellar. And I think the one thing that really hit me was in the intro. You've got J. Cole looking as the king crown person you see on the album cover, and he's in his throne, and they're flying through the sky, and
they're chasing a dollar bill.
Well, hold on. He's got the dollar bill.
No, but they're chasing it on a throne.
Who is?
The kids.
And that's my point. It wasn't even teenagers, and it wasn't even adults. It's kids that are sitting on drugs, on promethazine, on a bottle of pills.
I think that's from the album cover. The kids in this song are chasing the dollar.
Well, they're chasing the dollar while they're sitting on drugs. They're sitting on an
RX bottle. And you see I mean,
a cat bottle on the other side.
It looked a little bit to me like a generic drug bottle, personally, because RX, I believe, is just the generic bullshit.
Fair enough. I'm just saying.
The way I looked at it is the kids were sitting on the drug, which is money, that they're chasing this lust for money. I understand the global concept of the album.
I feel like they're chasing the money to satisfy their addiction for drugs that they're taking, which is why they're sitting on that.
I didn't see that in the video. In the video, because what happens next is they're chasing his dollar. Then J. Cole's in the room with the girl. And
no, but it's not J. Cole. It's
rapper
a
J.
rapper
Cole.
Dude who's
It's rapper J. Cole, who is supposed to be like the embodiment of this king guy, because I still think at this point he's the king guy because he's got all the money, right? And he's going around and he's doing a bunch of shit, and then he starts gambling, he starts buying expensive cars he can't afford, and then at the end, right after he spent all this money, and especially because you watch him like lose it all gambling recklessly.
Before that though, I want to make a point. There is a part where he sticks his hand in his bag, and the little J. Cole stabs like the gangster J. Cole, right? And for that moment, I was like, it's kind of like the money is trying to tell him to stop. Yeah. It's like the dude, some part of it is trying to tell him like, hey, get your money, get your hand out of this. Like, you need to save this, right? Yeah. And then I think you're going to follow up to where he...
Well, yeah, he like buys the car he can't afford. He fucking does the whole thing. But then he ends up in the car.
Wait, how does he buy the car? Do you remember that?
He cuts off his arm and his fucking leg because that's how much the arm costs.
And it's the leg that you don't need to drive. He keeps the leg with the gas pedal, so he's only on a straight road. Everything ties together. He
goes up into the sky, and now that he doesn't have the
sky, he gives this like and I apologize. I watched it like 7 times. Before he goes up in the sky, there's a moment where he's kind of like looking at the girl who's in the car with him. He's kind of like debating on what to do, and there's this instant of like, fuck it, I have nothing left to lose, and he goes up into the sky to chase this dollar bill.
And then it's almost like I feel like my thoughts on this was, at the beginning he's the king because he's got all the money and they're all chasing after him. And you know why I say that? Because the kids break into his room and come in and try to steal all his money and shit. So why would it not be him as the king in that moment? Because those same kids that were chasing after the throne are the ones who break into his apartment when him and the girl run away, right? So the green J. Cole, that one that like fucks on her bitch like that. He's the one that the kids break into the apartment, and then he proceeds to lose all the money.
And we forgot the best scene, actually. He's in a black stray jacket. I don't even know why I made it. But he's in a stray jacket in a room full of money, going crazy.
No, but it's like on beat dancing.
Yeah, he's definitely.
It's fucking. It's a type.
It's very creative in what he's trying to present in the projection. I'm done.
Since we've started doing this channel, so that's almost 1.5 years, this might be one of the best music videos I've seen of any album we reviewed, because
like that actually represents what the music's about.
I don't care about the clear sticking to the song. I think in and of itself, without that song, that music video tells a story, and that's what makes it a really cool music video. It just so happens to be a very similar story to the song. But yeah, I think just to add a little bit to everything that's already been said, I really like how he starts off the song in the first verse after that kind of part. Like, he's kind of contextualized. We're kind of like stuck on this like paper chase, and is this the one? Oh no, I think it's the next one. And then he's like, I know that it's difficult. I'm sticking this paper, but sort of habitual. Upload the residual. I'm fucking your bitch like it's part of my ritual. Part of the visual, but money, it gives me a hard on. It's typical. I want it in physical. $1 million, I counted at intervals. Without it, I'm miserable. Don't want to fall off. I'm so in my bag. Thanking God is biblical. I know I'm reading a whole bunch here, but like this verse is something else, right? Like, I know it's not going to solve every problem I have. I balled on the principle. Remember the teachers was on my ass. Look at them pitiful. And then, like, all of a sudden, I'm so good at math. So here you have a guy who's, like, living out the fucking stereotype, almost like Lust by Kendrick Lamar. And he's, like, going through the motions of, like, fucking doing his thing where he's, like, banging your girl. He's got all the money, etc. And then he's kind of like...
I feel like he's mocking the rappers. Like,
that's what J. Cole's doing, but what he's saying is expressing this point of view that the rappers have, right? So, like, and then he's going on and showing how, like, he appreciates kind of like all the money he has. He believes that now that he's rich, all of his problems are going to go away. But what's truly interesting is how all of his teachers kind of gave him shit for like not being smart or going to school or trying and stuff.
That's
but
like
all of a
every
sudden,
rapper.
now that he's got some millions and he spends so much time counting that that literal paper money because he literally needs to add the paper money, that he like fucking, you know, has gotten very good at math. I thought that was funny. I thought that was a great thing. But what's also cool is we ball on your court and escape with your bitch like we Tanya Harding. Recently I learned who Tanya Harding was, and I'm saying within the last 2 months. I just didn't know. That's the girl who fucked up the other chick for the Olympic skating bullshit because she wasn't going to make it and she was petty. And then she got off and the rest of her squad got taken out. So it's a really cool pun, actually. But she got off. She didn't actually have to go to jail. She don't need her garments. She horny from all the money we counted. And I love that line because so often it's like, you know what? A lot of people comment on the part where people like wonder when we got like so obsessed with how drug addicts became the rappers. For me, I'm wondering when it went from like pimping to let's pay for the hoes ourselves. Like that's to me the transition nobody fucking talks about, that I'm so confused. Like went from take from her, which is not necessarily polite. I'm not saying it's the right way to go.
Right.
But the mentality was not pay for sex. And then all of a sudden it was, let me give you 5 figures. Like, let me give you a normal person's salary in one night for sex. Like,
well,
the second I hear that,
I have a theory.
I'm just kind of like you a little bit lame. Like, Nelly, to quote Nelly, kicked the bitch up out the room if she used the word hours. Inspirational to young me. Don't, you know, like, that's the kind of mentality you have.
Fair enough.
Versus, like, other people, like, maybe even Nelly said make it rain later on. But
let's just put some, and I actually have a really interesting theory on that. Remember how J. Cole was talking about love is all digital? Mm-hmm. Yeah, in this digital world and how we perceive love and how, and I'm, again, speaking for what I see in myself, yeah, it's probably a little bit easier to get your you know, get a little bit of a slobby while paying. And to be honest, it's harder to get a girlfriend nowadays with all these trust issues and all of this and like, back and forth that... Yeah, it's a lot easier to just pay for it. I'm not saying I do.
I'm not trying to like say it's. I'm not trying to cast judgment here. It's not about easier. In fact, a lot of famous people fuck whores, escorts, prostitutes, whatever you want to call them, simply because it's easier than dealing with hyper-obsessed groupies. And I'm not even trying to say there's a right or a wrong way to approach the situation. I'm trying to say, when did we start bragging about it? When did it become cool that you can't get a proper woman on your own merits?
When having to be with that proper woman has now been defined as, oh, I'm a psycho girlfriend. This is what we preach. Whoa. This is how we're supposed to act now. I think
that's a ball of worm. I don't want to open that can of worms right here. I think there's a lot to be. That's a whole conversation where I don't know that it would end well to go into that right now. I gave this track a 5 on 5. I think that it's just interesting, the perspective shift. I guess I'm 30 now, so I've had a great opportunity to start watching what's cool change, all right? And that's a way to look at it. Like, I remember pre-Plenty of Fish and stuff, and now I see how Tinder took over. Anyway, let's talk about...
Well, hold on. I gave it a 4.5, by the way.
I didn't know you had to give it a grade. It's a 5 to me. It's beautiful. It's perfect. This is the ironic kind of trap song I want because it's so well composed that, like, when the kind of, like, you can't help it. You're almost, like, vibing along.
It kind of motivates you.
That was the worst.
Go. Motivate.
Get money. So that's Lil' Kim. I wasn't expecting to hear a Lil' Kim Junior Mafia little reference on this one, but man, when you hear that get money interlaced throughout the beat here, you just can't help it. It makes the track that much motherfucking hype. So whereas the last one I thought was the Greed song, I think this is the Money song. I'm just throwing it out there. Go ahead, Chris. What do you think of this one?
I just think J. Cole is really just trying to motivate you in a positive way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that point, please?
So what I'm understanding is, like, I can agree. I can see how you're talking about the Money song and how, like, there's this kind of concept of money motivating us to do shit, to do certain things.
And I got bread like I'm Green Day. Get money.
Right? But I felt the song itself was just braggadocious in a way for J. Cole. Like, he's staying motivated to make money. But yeah, I didn't really take much from this song. I gave it a 4 on 5. It's good. I like it.
Okay. All right, audience. Let's have a conversation. Chris here's. I'm not trying to be that condescending, but come on. This song is very clearly to me. If you disagree, call me a condescending shit. I don't care. I can't have no sympathy for fuck folk. All this shit I've seen done make my blood thicker. Spill promethazine inside a double cup. Double up my cream, now that's a double stuff. Yeah, please don't hit my phone if it ain't about no commas. We're getting the sense that, again, he's coming in with that almost perspective taking. I think what J. Cole's trying to do here is show you that he listens to the music he's criticizing.
Right.
And that he takes it seriously. And that he knows it so well he can interlope a lot of these lines. Because what this track is like, get money is a big part of it. That's about how, like, he does all of these things. He does the lean, he gets all fucked up and stuff. But really, all of this is about finding more dollars, finding more commas, getting your stuff. Like, too many times I swallow my pride, get money. I'm cracking a smile, I'm dying inside. My demons are close, I'm trying to hide. I'm popping a pill, I'm feeling alive, I'm feeling alive, I'm feeling alive. Holy shit.
Well, that just sounds like he's suppressing pain by taking pills.
Right, but I think it's because he's trying. So here he realizes his motivation of just getting money is so hollow that it is not really a sustaining thing. So he's like losing himself. He's had to swallow his pride to get that money, to do bullshit he doesn't really want to do, right? Like, and so, like, as he's cracking a smile and he's pretending he's fucking loving his life and stuff, he's like dying a bit. So I can imagine how certain artists might not have a lot of pride in the work they do, or certain people, like if you've ever been in a cutthroat sales environment, you're going to find out that you're going to have to do things that you're not proud of in order to succeed, per se, just to go like super generic with it. And I think it's the same kind of thing. People who are motivated purely by money end up with a lot of demons inside, etc. But then what's super cool is he's like, I'm popping a pill, I'm feeling a pill, I'm feeling alive, I'm feeling alive. And it reminded me of like the Lil Peep song you said, where like he kind of like the perspective shifts a bit and it's almost like the pill kicks in and he gets high. And that's how like the second verse kind of kicks off. It's like, whoa, suddenly I feel like taking a PJ, a private jet. That's what I learned today. I always thought it was a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Oh my God.
I know there's no B, guys. I know. I was trying to make a lame joke.
Yeah, you suck.
I don't suck. Get money and then fly to DR on a weekday, eating ceviche, whatever that is, with $500,000 inside my briefcase. A couple of freak space. They don't speak the English, but get the money is something they can comprende. And then, come on, a Green Day pun is fucking amazing. But here we have like a guy who is on this quest to get money. It's the reason he lives. He's up there to get it. And it's just how hollow it is that you got to even sip lean to like survive. You got to go places where like it's about spending your money. It's about showing off what you got. Like, oh, I'm so fucking baller. I can go do this, mixed with almost like this is a drug, if I shall say it in its own way. Even though Chris wants to call it an addiction. So it's like a drug, and like he's kind of describing how like a pill that he takes, then it's like the pill kicks in, you know, and now he's gonna spend money because he's high off of this situation. Right. I think this song is pretty fucking cool and fun to listen to. Another great message, another great thought-provoking, stimulated my noggin kind of song. Really, at this point, though, I can see how there's a few of you out there who may like even be like, the lyrics are dope, but the beats are kind of off or something. And I can see how a couple people might have a bit of a perspective. I feel this one. I'm still giving this a 4.5. I still think this is some fun music to listen to. But this whole album, like, I gotta be in like a certain mood, right? Like a lyrical, thoughtful, I want to go think about some shit kind of mood. Like I gotta be in like a Deltron 3030 kind of thinking mood to like approach this.
I'll be honest, even if I'm always ready for Deltron.
But like Deltron managed to do some cool shit where at least the first part of that album is really engaging, but to like go through the whole thing you have to be in like a really thinking mood, right? So in this case I really feel like you got to be like, this is a smoke a blunt, lay back and let your mind expand kind of an album, whereas other ones might not. Where it's not really hype. Like I don't feel like I'm supposed to turn up to this. I feel like I'm supposed to question if I'm ever supposed to turn up again to this, you know?
It's from what I get from it, it's kind of like you can turn up to it because that's what people want. Like we just want turn up music. So if it's like repeated choruses and the same shit and count it up, you know, stuff like that, you're like, you're getting that what you want. But what Cole is doing as well, he's like, all right, I'll feed you your satisfaction, but I need you to understand that I got something to say though,
because he's gonna lace it. Anyway, let's talk about Kevin's heart. I mean, you know what I mean.
Roma. My girl, she got a diploma. She got white written all over.
All right. If I understand correctly, this track is told a little bit from the perspective of Kevin Hart, but really it's more of a general exploration into cheating, which is something J. Cole
Temptations
has like kind of explored in the past a little bit. So it's definitely not a new topic for him. Yeah. What did you think about this one?
I like what he went for it. I don't really know why he used he specifically used Kevin Hart. I mean, I get it's like a trending thing. It's what's happening. Like he's in the news and stuff
He's
like
so
that.
wholesome, and he was like the really good guy.
I know. I watched all the interviews. I watched how he handled it, and I do respect and appreciate how he handled the situation. But I'm just like I don't know why like you picked Kevin Hart to be like the concept of your song. That's just how I feel.
He probably saw Kevin Hart's situation break down, and it fit.
Well, from one, when he went, I want to have my cake and another cake too, even if the baker don't bake like you, even if the flavor don't taste like you. And that was like, I get it. He's playing on this type of concept of like temptation and I would say lust as well. On you think you like what you see, but it's not the same of what you have, and kind of like giving this illusion that we're quick to jump at what we want very quickly without like we're very impulsive in a sense. We're going to go and give in to our temptations and do this even if it doesn't, bake or taste like
I actually
what we're
think
used to.
it's not so quick and impulsive. It's a little bit like, I mean, check the little intro part. She my number one. I don't need nothing on the side. She said
Right.
that I was done for good and I want more lines. Okay, so here we have him like kind of like, okay, I'm not going to do anything bad anymore. But my phone be blowing up, temptations on my line. I stare at the screen for a while before I press decline. She plants a seed in my mind and still it lingers, whatever. Told myself I'm strong enough, trying to shake it, trying, but I'm only human. I know loving you's a crime. If I take this cookie now, one day I'll do it at a time. So I think it's kind of like, instead of it being quick and impulsive, it's more like we're slow and obsessive. It's like, we know this opportunity exists. We know we can have it. So at first you're even doing like the good thing, but like think about it. At first you stare at your screen. I could fuck this girl. Decline. And like you sit there for a minute.
But that hesitation though.
That isn't being quick and impulsive. It's almost not being quick and
Well,
quick and impulsive would be like,
no,
what's up,
but
girl? Let's go smash.
what I'm saying, like, what I want to say by quick and impulsive is, like, you shouldn't, like, if you have a girlfriend or you have a boyfriend, right, you shouldn't hesitate. If you don't, like, you should just hang up. But you're so impulsive to maybe want to be with that other person that you're hesitating to hang up.
Really,
and you're still, like,
impulsive. You can't use impulsive and hesitate in the same sentence, in my opinion, because impulsive is the opposite of hesitating. It's just the language you're using, Chris. In my opinion, here.
That's fine.
Not your ideas. It's just the specific word impulsive. Because impulsive would be like more the part where he's on tour and he's smashing girls later on in the song. That might be like a good example of using impulsive. But I think that it's just really interesting to show that it's not just impulsive behavior. It's another addiction. It's another drug, this desire that comes from other people.
Like opportunity in a sense?
Yeah, because you got to think about it in the framing of the album. Everything on this song is a drug or an addiction. So, like, I love her. I don't want to lose her. I'm selfish. I know that I use her. My ego got stroked and I bruise her. My actions, I know they're confusing. At home, I look happy as usual. On the road, I'm a Mac, I'm a chooser. I'm an addict. I'm asking at Kevin's heart. And you got, like, just that part really, like, it really hit me there where it's like, he loves her. He loves his girl at home. He knows he does. And most people, I would say, who cheat, and in light of maybe some folks saying it, really do love that person that they're with. And infidelity often stems from a place of wherever it stems from. But it's not that you don't love the person that you're with. It's often that for whatever reason you're trying to fill some void and you go ahead and do some shit. So as he got his ego inflated in this case, he's selfish. And, as his ego's getting stroked, he's hurting this person back home, etc. My favorite line is, I'm a fake and it's never been clearer. I can't see myself when I look in the mirror. It's just like this song, and I don't know how many people have ever dealt with cheating or infidelity, or what it's like to I don't know, I guess struggle with the desires to do it when you're even in a happy set up relationship. But it's definitely a song worth writing, in my opinion. Here, he hits it right on the head. I mean, as far as to why Kevin Hart, because he's fucking relevant. That's why. And I think it's a recent story that people can connect to make sure that the idea of the song is not lost. He still manages to dabble in some drug references. This one to me is like a 5. It's got like this super honest sincerity to like the challenge in it. It's a way of framing infidelity into another ballpark of something that needs to be treated like an addiction and shit, which is an interesting idea. I don't know. What did you any more ideas from your end?
I gave it a 4. I like the concept behind it. I don't know. I guess I just don't really care for Kevin Hart's story for me to kind of get behind the whole like trying to connect it to Kevin and how we're trying to like play out his story and trying to give a message to it.
I think that was like a small detail of the song.
For me itself, just he brought it back, and again I also watched a lot of the interviews about Kevin Hart when he was going through it, and a lot of the song is what kind of happened. So for me, listening to it, I was like, you basically just made a song about Kevin Hart's relationship. I understand what you're doing, and I understand the topic you're bringing up, but it's just the way I took it. I was like, okay.
But he didn't just write a song about Kevin Hart's relationship. He wrote a song about a lot of people's relationships. Kevin Hart, his story is just a visible example of what a lot of people probably deal with. So it was a good way of writing a perspective piece that was not him, that is a little bit detached. But honestly, without hearing Kevin Hart's story, it's a clear song questioning cheating and the struggle behind it.
Right.
So, like, I don't know that if it's directly about Kevin's heart, that makes it better or worse or anything. I think in and of itself, it's a truly worth writing song. And Kevin Hart, if I'm not mistaken, is it spelled that way? I'm pretty sure it's like H-A-R-T. No, I don't know how to spell Kevin Hart.
I
have no fucking idea how to spell his name.
I think that's the way.
I'm not really sure, but I do think that it's a good pun, man. Like it fucking works. You know, it is Kevin Hart. It's an H-A-R-T. So it's not even spelled the same. So now you're just making a big assumption that it's about. I'm kidding. But it is spelled a little bit differently. See what J. Cole did there? I don't know. I thought it was so strong. I thought there were many great lines in this that even if it is another person's story and he's just retelling it, it doesn't change the relatability and the honesty in this song.
Fair enough.
So yeah, let's talk about brackets. It's an appropriate time of year.
Them niggas trying to blow and they need me for that. And if it worked for them was
J. Cole wrote a song about taxes. I mean, it starts off with Richard Pryor doing a little bit, describing kind of how, like, if Richard Pryor went home and he makes a whole bunch of money, blah, 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 his dad would kind of call him a liar because even though the boxer, I think Joe Louis, I don't know how to say that, made a bunch of money, he really lost a lot of money to taxes, so he didn't really make as much money as I think what the joke was, that even if you make a lot of money because of the tax man, you really don't. I think that's what the joke is.
Well, The song does touch upon Cole not really knowing where his money's being used for or where it's going, or at least like he's coming from a perspective.
Well, the first verse is kind of everyone's being a hater, and J. Cole's kind of making money in the side, ignoring all the hatery, going, but wait a second, where the fuck is? I just sit back on the cool and watch my paper stack and trip off how much bread them crackers take from that, referring to how, while everyone else is hating on him, he's kind of worried about that. And then you got, I think his Lil Cole is the name of the character with the little weird voice. And he's kind of gives his little speech about how he's a good man. He's going to, like, pay his money and this, that, the next thing. It's all good until he finds out it's half. And he's like, half? What do you mean half? You know, it's like half a dick, you know? Like, it was kind of, like, funny there. But he's just, like, saying, I'm trying to be a good...
There's also, he also calls him Uncle.
Uncle Sam.
Uncle, and relate to Uncle Sam.
The tax man.
The government.
The tax... Who do you think the IRS is, man?
I'm well aware. But I like that. I liked how he's kind of going up against the government kind of just like, I'm putting in this hard work, I'm doing this, like, why are you taking half of whatever I earn?
Yeah, and I think it's one of the more shocking things is as you make more money, you lose a lot of it to taxes, which we're in Canada, so we're quasi-socialist and shit, which I guess is something I expect, but half is a lot, man. That means that if you make $80,000, you go back to $40,000, which is kind of like, and then if you think about it, if you make like 50,000, you're really gonna call out at like 30, let's say fucking 35. So at the end of the day, you make that much more money, but you really don't make that much more money. Is the interesting part about income taxes, but there's just so many powerful lines. Like, maybe we'll never see a black man in the White House again. I'll write a check to the IRS. My pockets get slim. Damn, do I even have a say about where it's going? Some older folk told me to start voting. I said democracy's too fucking slow. If I'm giving y'all all this hard-earned bread, I want to know. Better yet, let me decide. Bitch, it's 2018. Let me pick the things I'm funding from a app on a mobile screen. And better than, like, letting the congressman who, like, they don't really get to have a lot of say in that, and then these same congressmen are kind of pushing guns back into the hood. So he does pay his taxes, and in paying his taxes, he's helping, like, other communities and other folk get better while his people aren't getting the education they need. They're killing each other with guns that are pushed on their communities by the same people who are taking the tax money. But, like, are you, like... Guys, why do we not have a mobile fucking app that lets us pick where tax money goes? Like, I mean, I'm sitting here going, like, they have a lot of conversations up in our parliament. That's our version of the White House. And, like, they discuss shit. They don't ask my fucking opinion. Hell, in Canada, it's so fucked up that, like, I could pick a representative for my riding, and then the government just switches the person after we vote for that person. Like, I vote for a person, and then somebody else might be my representative after. Fuck that. Why can't we have mobile apps that give us more in-control, real-time data communication? J. Cole's onto something, is I guess what I'm saying. But yeah, I think that this song, I mean, I know I'm talking a bit more than Chris this time. But
I'm going to be honest, this is out of my field.
But, like, I think this song's trying to do two things. One, he's trying to say, y'all look at me like I'm rich, but don't realize how much money I lose to taxes, which is something that a lot of people who have money complain about. But I think that J. Cole is just really bothered by this and then proceeds to qualify it like there's this high expectation that I'm supposed to pay taxes, and I do, don't get me wrong, sir, like he does, let's say. And then just proceeds to describe in detail how, like, almost like in any other kind of situation, like if you were a stockholder in a company, you would have choice. And in this case, taxes is almost like being a stockholder in your country, but you have no choice. In fact, you're feeding money to people poisoning your communities. I thought it was super fucking interesting. I thought this was one of those, like, okay, if you're going to talk about taxes, I suppose that is the way to fucking do it. Brackets, tax brackets. It's a cool fucking clever concept for a title. The beats on that smoothier, reflective. We got pensive Cole in here. I give it a 4.5 on 5 because I'm so impressed by how he handled this song. However, this one is one of the less suck you in tracks. It's a little bit more of this is the knowledge side of the album, less of the feeling side of the album. But still fits into that money theme a little bit. I don't really know where the drug addiction part of this track comes in.
Well, money itself could be an addiction, could be a drug. Money makes you do weird things, crazy things.
And when you think back to the KOD at the end part when he's talking about all the things involved, I'm not seeing that connection. I get this song, I suppose. I think it was a cool song to write. But if I had to pick, I have a lot of trouble understanding how this one fits the overall theme of
power.
Maybe
the government has power over what we do, and they have to tax us for half our money, and we don't have the power to make the money to actually have all the money that we deserve to have.
To anyone who believes that those nouns were presented in order of appearance on the album, which I saw, I don't see it. Anyway, so I gave this one a 4.5. What did you give it?
I gave it a 4. Only, and truthfully, it's because I just didn't understand it 100%. It's not my field. I don't really know much about taxes. I don't really know much about what like the income rate is and how like they take away and what it is. I understand that.
I mean, our base level, the first, like in Canada at least, like the first 8,000 you make or whatever, you don't really get taxed on, and then up until 40 or whatever, you get taxed on this rate, and then everything you make from 40 to this, you get taxed on this rate, and then everything you make from that to that and that's what a tax bracket is. So it's kind of cumulative. So the first 40,000 you make is only taxed on the 40,000 bracket, and then all the money made from 40 to 80, let's say, are taxed on that new rate. So the higher you go, the less you keep in kind of like a curve sense. But then if you get something like a bonus, right, where let's say you regularly pull in 1,000, but you pull in 3,000, because of how tax works out, they assume that you're supposed that for that one particular check, you're worth as much as if you were getting 3,000 every time. So you're supposed to be taxed heavier for that reason on that day, and it's all fucking wonky and stupid a little bit. But it also kind of makes sense once you learn about it. Income taxes are cool once you learn about them because it's so fucking relevant, and we should all kind of understand it. Seriously though, in 2 YouTube videos of about 24 minutes of my time, I had a really good understanding of how Canada's taxes work. I bet there's a shit ton of those guys for the States if you in there. That was a huge like tangent talking about taxes. Once an Addict interlude. Unless you're done. Did you have more to say? Yeah, I kind of rambled on this one.
All I was really going to say is that I understand the concept, and I like how he's trying to bring up this conversation of like, we as society work for our money and we don't really get a full say on where it goes. Like, just the only thing, and it's funny for me, I guess, is the only thing I can think of is, yeah, I live in a place where the government takes my taxes, but my roads are still shit, and they've been shit since I've been 15.
That's a complicated subject. You live in NDG. NDG's a hood.
Oh no! I'm talking all over Montreal that I've driven, and all on South Shore. I grew up on the South Shore,
Quebec,
and my roads are still shit.
So Quebec has something called a general pot in the budgeting side of things, where unlike, let's say, the rest of Canada, or I don't know, Ontario has like all the money from cigarettes goes towards the roads. So they have a constant flow of money for the roads. Quebec has all the money that we tax goes in a pot, and then we allocate budgets. And then it goes through subcontractors. And y'all want to talk about corruption? Go look at shit like that in Quebec, man. Go look at the corruption in our city with some of this stuff over the while. It's super interesting. Montreal's roads. Just Google that shit. It's fucking fascinating what you see happening behind the scenes. Anyway.
That is all.
Once an Addict interlude is next.
I'm upset, cause why she always using me for crutch? Growing up, I always used to see her up. Latest.
All right, I talked a lot on that last one. Chris, why don't you tell us about this one?
This one, I got this very personal feeling from J. Cole, and if I'm not mistaken, it's about his mother.
Yes. Well, you're not mistaken.
But I don't know if it's literally about like J. Cole's mother, or if he again is taking this persona of somebody with a broken home type situation.
Right. Well, if I understand from the story of the song, the dad dips and has a whole another family, smashed the mom's heart. The mom abuses alcohol. J. Cole runs away to college, and his problems don't go away, and he kind of regrets a little bit not being there for mommy.
Yep. That's everything it is. One of the lines that really stuck with me was, "But now it's 1 a.m. and my mama dialing my phone. I know she intoxicated, and soon this high that I'm on comes crashing down. She lit, talking drunk shit. I'm pissed, but I'm still all ears like bass hounds, thinking to myself, maybe my mama needs help." And it's just like,
I mean, I think the most interesting part of that is J. Cole is just trying to get high and have a good time, but his mom's calling up his shit, kind of breaking through his high, and he's realizing almost the duality of intoxication in that one moment.
But I feel like it also shows the disconnect from the mother and the child, like the kid himself, and a little bit earlier.
You're right.
He ran a little earlier in the song. J. Cole, or the character J. Cole is playing, runs off because he can't stay at home dealing with the fact that he sees his mom drinking and being all alcoholic and stuff.
And he says it like explicitly, like he's too young to handle that pain, so he like stays out late to avoid her and shit like that. But then when he gets home or whatever, like
it's like what's the point of even going home early? And it's all derived, and the whole song is derived to this point of, it's like, as a kid, you make decisions and you do things because you're not really mature enough to understand what's really happening. And then as you get older, you start to understand why certain things happened and why certain people act the way they did and what it is. But there's always like this type of guilt in you that you couldn't do anything when you were younger because you didn't understand.
Well,
and
I think he understood a little bit at that point. He just didn't want to deal with it. So I can relate a little bit to this track without going into any specifics, since both my parents are alive and I've decided to not go on wax with a lot of that shit until they passed, let's say. They had some issues where there was a point where I ran away from, I guess, my mom's house and a lot of the stuff that happened there, to a point where I think my brother still kind of resents me for it. And it was a little bit like what J. Cole was describing. The situation that was taking place was too much for me to handle, so I went off to go do my own thing and ignored a lot of what was happening there. And I can just have some moments that are kind of relatable. Like, subconsciously, I was nervous that if I came home early, that what would surface was her inner demons, that I'd have to see her end up hitting the ground. On ground zero, tears flow like Al Green blow, love and happiness. I wish I could say the right words to cheer her up. I wish her son's love was enough. I tell her mama go to sleep. She tell me, boy, hush, you better pray to God that your heart never get crushed. I mean, I'm willing to say that my dad cheated on my mom with this hideous looking wench and proceeded to like smash my family back when I was 18. And so my mom had a good reason to feel hurt and then do things that made me really almost relate to this track a little bit more. Not to say that she became an alcoholic, but you know, her own version of coping mechanisms and stuff that ended up coming from that. And yeah, so this one was like super relatable, and I love the like what he was doing with it. But if we want to talk about it like critically as a song, this might be one of the most boring songs on the album, I think. Like, it's super heartfelt and like meaningful,
I think,
but I totally wasn't like feeling it as like a song, you know, like
it made me think. I can't relate the way you relate to the song, but what I took away from it and what I feel like I can relate to, my parents, when I was like 12, got a divorce, and my dad started neglecting us at a certain point. But he didn't mean to. It wasn't like he chose to do it. It was just life was going on, stuff was happening. And as a result, I chose to not go to my dad's house no more. I chose to start living my own life, and only now am I starting to realize that I could have changed my actions and done different things. And
yes, I suppose that ultimately I think that's the core point of what J. Cole is trying to convey. Is
like that is what I took from it, but I can't really get into the song because I agree it was kind of boring. Like
I don't want to say boring. I'd say
not in like the turn it off sense. Just the you like, have to.
It's more like when you watch a dope ass intense poem for like a few minutes to like appreciate and think about. Like again, it's a heavy thinky feeling. Like I felt what he was saying. I just, even under the context of this album, this is one of the ones I felt, I give it a 4.25. And the reason for that is because I think it's really well made. I don't like the beat very much, and I think that's a huge part of it. I don't like the song structuring as much, and because it's not really meant to be that kind of song. And I get what he's trying to do with it, and I could see how it's like really artsy. It's just, like it's well made, but not my cup of tea is I guess what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
I gave it a 4.
Yeah, let us know what you thought about it, and we'll talk about Friends now.
Is it the loudest, blowing strong? Some niggas graduated to powder. I dabbled later.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like this one was also a little bit hard to get into. The tone has changed on the album. We went from like this high energy kind of fun rap to like this slower, kind of calmer experience here. In the last couple of songs, at least for me. I don't know. Did you like this one? Oh, it's got Kill Edward's back.
Ish. Like I enjoyed what he's trying to like get across in the song. I feel like he's trying to get across, like he's trying to explain that he wants to be better better than having to see people struggle. He's kind of like making for what I got is like kind of making a reference of how we kind of escape to our friends and they don't really help us with our problems. They just kind of indulge us in all the other sinful bullshit that we usually do to kind of escape. I mean, in the context of the album and this song, what it's talking about, when you're escaping, it's like your friends try to help you escape and not really kind of get you grounded for what's really going on. I like one line when he's like, one thing about your demons, they bound to catch up one day. I'd rather see you stand up and face them than run away. I understand this message is not the coolest to say, but if you're down to try it, I know a way better way. Meditate. And it's like,
and then the whole next part is like, meditate, don't medicate, meditate.
Yeah. And it's a way, and he's trying to show different alternatives, different outlets of escape on trying to be a better thing. But I feel like he's trying to play the role of like a good friend in a sea of bad friends.
Yeah, actually, I think that's a really apt assessment.
That's what I got from it. Other than that, you're right with the beat different changing. The beats are kind of losing it on me. I'm not feeling that like energy anymore. I'm feeling that these are more like you have to sit down and really like, all right, I've given you what you wanted. Now we have to talk about what I want to talk about. Like,
you know what? That's a really good way to put it. I like that. Well said.
So this track again, stand it at a 4.
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of lines on this. Like, again, I love the lyrics to a lot of... I think that every song on this album has excellent lyrics. I think one of the most substantial ones is I wrote this shit to talk about the word addiction. I like the part where at the beginning he references fucking people in the verse, specific people who some people on the internet have tried to figure out who they are. He obviously edits out their names, but like the song is almost written to friends of his that are going through some shits. I believe King Edward's contribution is...
Kill Edward.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Kill Edward. I got thoughts, can't control, got me down, got me low, rest my mind, rest my soul. When I blow, am I wrong? Let them know. Feels so right. Let things go. Don't think twice. This is me. This is how I should be. And it's a way of kind of like showing how when you are in this, I guess, drug state of mind, you will end up with thoughts that are all over the place, and you'll probably feel kind of shitty and stuff. So, and it's usually what leads you to drugs. So it's like, how do you cope with life? How do you cope with the hard thing? You get fucking high. And this is just how you are. So even if other people have criticisms or negative feedback about the way that you live your life, it's a little bit kind of pointing out how, you know, it's just not really like, you know, something you're going to listen to. I kind of dig lines like smoking medical grade, but I ain't got a prescription. All the way in Cali where they ain't got the precipitation. Feeling like the only one that made it. And I hate it for my people because they ain't got ambition. Fuck did you expect? You can blame it on condition. So this is an interesting line, right? Because one of the long-known effects of weed, like it's been known since I was a kid, is what they call amotivational syndrome, where you lose the ability to motivate yourself to do anything. If you want to know what that really means, listen to Then I Got High by Afroman, and it very much explains what weed does. So what it can do. Now, many folk will find ways to beat that, but I'd say most people who chronically smoke pot end up stuck in loops and shit. And you can maybe say it's not most, but I would say that unless you know how to motivate yourself when smoking 7 grams of pot, it is an extremely fucking challenging thing to do. And most people will not learn how to do it. So when you see the lines where like he's made it, he's got that far, and he's all the way out in Cali and stuff, but like he wants his people to come with him, but they got no ambition, probably because they smoking all this pot.
Because heaven's a mind state.
Anyway, then he blames on a whole bunch of shit, and like a lot of things people would blame it on. But what really caught me is when he goes, blame it on the rain, Milli Vanilli with the disc skip, because it's a great song, and I like thinking about Milli Vanilli. But what I'm trying to say is the blame can go deep as seas. Just to blame them all, I would need 20 CDs. For the record, Milli Vanilli can blame it on the fact that the disc skipped, and that's why they got exposed and things went really, really bad. That's why it's a good line. in case you didn't know. Milli Vanilli. You didn't know Milli Vanilli? So they had this song, Blame It on the Rain, and while performing live at an award show, like they got in the Grammy for it. It's like, Blame It on the Rain. It's like some shit my mom would have really fucking vibed to.
Maybe I've heard it.
Like it was like on the radio when I was like 4. And then like they're doing this performance and like the disc that they're lip syncing to just skips, and they fucking get caught as fakes. It turns out that they aren't even the singers on the album. They're just the prettier versions than the singers.
Wow.
And they lose
Like
it all.
the people on stage are the prettier singers?
Yeah, the people on stage were
But
not.
the people who actually recorded the song,
they're not the guys that you got to know as Milli Vanilli. So the people who actually won the Grammy did not actually.
It's like before
Not even
Gorillaz became Gorillaz.
I don't agree because Gorillaz was
Gorillaz has the
Daemon Albarn's side project, and it's completely.
It's because when I met Gorillaz, I only knew them as the 4 cartoon characters.
Well, it's a little bit different because this is more like if you heard Eminem do a Grammy performance and found out that the whole album was Steve. It wasn't actually Marshall. It was a guy named Steve. But Eminem was prettier, so they just had him go up and lip sync. Anyway, but I like the fact that he then says that to blame everything would take him like 20 discs worth of songs just to blame all the things that people can blame for the condition that they're in and shit. All I have to say, great message again in this song. I appreciate where he's coming from, but fuck, it was like bland and boring compared to a lot of the earlier ones, which I could find myself really vibing to. Now I'm finding myself going, again, this is some well thought out, really enjoyable stuff, but like, I don't have a huge draw to want to go back and listen to Friends again. I gave it a 4 because I could see how if I like the beats, I'd really feel the song. And I'm certain that there are quite a few people who dig the aesthetic of sound he's chosen for these last couple of songs. I'm not one of them. So I appreciate the quality of it while not necessarily enjoying it. So I give it a 4. I don't know. Did you give it a grade? I don't remember.
Give it a 4.
All right. So there's one more song on this album, jokes, but Window Pane, outro.
Granny live, blow, blow. His granny duck, he don't give a fuck. He's on.
This song, I think I only got the point of what this song was like about 5-6 minutes ago while we were talking about the last one. So I was really excited to have an epiphany on that. But you want to talk about this one?
Well, I like how there's like this little intro of a little boy.
It's a girl.
It's a girl?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a little boy.
That's why it says she later on.
Anyway, there's a little kid explaining how, like, before bedtime, mother was putting her to sleep, and then they heard gunshots, and it ended up that the bullets penetrated the little girl's cousin.
Smashed him.
And it's I don't know, like, I enjoy the experience of like the pain felt and the loss and the death and like having to go through these different going through these different like things to kind of get over it, but I also don't quite get it.
Okay. Yeah,
so
go on.
Well, that's one side. That's my side of it. I do like when he went, how you claim blood or cuz when that was just an LA thing. I don't mean no disrespect towards your set. No, I'm just saying that it seems like for acceptance, we'll do anything. We'll rep any gang. We'll bust any head. And
yeah,
that line itself resonated with me because it kind of just seems like nowadays to be accepted, you need to be somebody that is something, or you have to beat someone up, or you have to
like
do something
shooting up where his granny lived, blow blow, his Grammy duck, he don't give a fuck, he's on Henny and Zannied up, blowing Tammy up, but when you gonna get them panties up, he just plant a seed, but best believe he ain't man enough. And then my favorite one, just cause your dick can spray semen, it don't mean you ready to let go of your childish ways, the results are deadly. You know, another kid born in the cycle.
Yeah. But all in all, I like how he's expressing this sort of fear and kind of giving us this imagery of like a very scary place. I think this is J. Cole kind of looking out through his like perfect window glass, but kind of reminiscing on how he kind of got there and everything that has been going on in his past and how like his experiences have made him who he is today. But I felt this beat a little bit more. I felt the vibe to it more. I got more sucked into it. I got more enthralled. I gave it a 4.5 on 5. I thought this was really great.
That's fair. So you got like a sense of like J. Cole tells that little story, and then you get a bunch of all I ever wanted was stealing them bitches holler back, you know, get some money plus respect. Now look, I got all that. All I want to do is see my granny on the other side. All I want to do is kill the man that made my mama cry. So you get a sense that like there's all these different things that motivated him, that like, drove him all the way through. Kind of describes how people are so in pain and they're so empty, they're so lonely, they'll be willing to do anything, act in any kind of way, do all sorts of shit. Goes through the whole song. And then you get to the end where you're like, I know I'm blessed because your stress, as in that little kid, the little girl, is realer than anything I done been through. So I think the idea of window pane, it's kind of like window shopping. He's like looking and he's like seeing this little girl's pain, this little girl that he promised that he wouldn't forget her chat, so he immortalizes her on a record. And like he's kind of like, if you think about this whole album, it's been like how to cope with pain, how do we all deal with our pain, how we all deal with this type of shit, etc. And then Cole's kind of gone through a lot of the stuff he's seen, and you gotta keep in mind some people might have experiences like this little girl that are real. A lot of people might not, though. And I think that J. Cole is going, I never had an experience quite that real. So this little girl kind of shows how, in the outro specifically, she found solace with dealing with her pain through the idea that God allows us to suffer as a test for preparation and coming back. But the real brilliance there is this little kid, instead of getting lost to the pain, managed to find a way to understand and create this, like, peace within herself, whereas the rest of us are so fucked up and so whacked that we're like lost on drugs and money and blah blah, everything the album's kind of talked about. And I think it's kind of like a little bit of a shame on us. How can this little kid figure out a way to be almost healthy with it when the rest of us are a little bit kind of doing anything for whatever? I thought it was really powerful. I agree. This one was like a step up. It had the energy. Like it made sense for this one to have the kind of flow that it had, I think. I gave this a 5. I was like, wow, that's some powerful fucking shit right there. Really good song.
Nice.
What'd you give it?
4.5.
All right, so I lied before when I said it was the last one, because apparently that the last one is 1985, Intro to the Fall Off.
Good advice, never quit torn, because that's the way we eat here in this rap game.
There is something to the flow at the beginning of this song. And I can't fucking, I know it's from something and I can't put it on something. And I feel like it's J. Cole quoting J. Cole, so like it's not a bad something. Although he does like cite the Kanye line, like wasn't supposed to make it past 25, but joke's on you, he's still alive. That was fucking cool. Yeah, this is actually the intro song to an upcoming project called The Fall Off that J. Cole has confirmed that has no date or anything. So the last song on this is the trailer to it. It's almost like when you read a book and then the last thing in the book is chapter 1 to the next book. That's what this is. That's what I took from this song. All right, Chris.
It's my little pump.
Right? I know you were waiting for it, right? Right? You were just building up. You knew we wanted to say that.
So it's not just Lil Pump, but like is basically J. Cole kind of just calling all these like drugged out, lean, Zanny popping rappers like, y'all don't know your impact. You don't know what you're really doing to the world. You think that you're just living fast, making money, and he appreciates it, and he's not telling you to not do it, but I feel like he's kind of calling them blind. Like, you're basically just doing it out of greed, lust, power, and fame, and everything that this album has been describing without even realizing the pain and disparity and everything else you're causing to everyone else while you proceed to like, well, I'm gonna fuck my life up and take drugs with my granny. I'm gonna sip lean, and everyone else is copying you. You're kind of just like, yeah, you're not really helping the world. And that's what I took from this song.
Okay, what'd you give it?
I gave it a 4. It wasn't
Okay,
like...
I think this song's way more than that. So now that Chris is done, and I've been polite, so I mean, you call yourself playing my name, then I know that you fuck trust. I'll be around forever because my skills is tip top to any amateur folk that want to get cocked. Just remember what I told you, that when your shit flop in 5 years, you're gonna be on Love and Hip Hop. What a way to end. So that's how he ends the song, just to give you an idea. A little bit aggressive, and he's trying to pointing out that, like, so the reason that this is so significant is because this is a little bit of an open letter of advice, and he's kind of ending, if you don't heed my advice, don't be shocked if you're just another one of those guys on Love and Hip Hop, you know, like, and I can see the insults. I think that might be, if you go from rap star to reality TV star, it's probably as bad as if you do anything and end up as reality TV star. I'm just assuming that is the worst move for everyone, and that's my thoughts on that. But so he kind of starts off, you know, describing like himself. He's pulled it off, but then he also goes stuff like, so yeah, we were supposed to get past 25. Jokes on you, motherfucker. We alive. All these folk popping now is young. So he's saying, okay, I come from that era, that Kanye West era. That's where I'm from. You know, I'm older, but these people is young. And then everybody say the music they make is dumb, which is a lot of people, which is unfortunate. Because he remembers he was 18, money, pussy, parties, and he was on the same thing. You gotta give a boy a chance to grow some. And I've been saying this for fucking ever. I think Justin Bieber is the perfect case of a society judging an 18-year-old with a lot of money for behaving in ways they would behave exactly if they were him. Like, that's the thing, is we're so quick to, like, cast judgment on, like, whatever you want to say about Lil Pump, he is 17. Like, what the fuck were you saying at 17 that sounded smart? And probably none of us sounded smart at 17.
Yeah, but do you actually agree with the fact that he's also promoting a type of, like,
I think they're not. They're separate.
Really...
They're separate things. I think that at 17, if you had the opportunity to fuck girls, get high all the time, and just basically do what you want with nice cars and stuff, wouldn't you? Yeah. So if they're keeping it real, quote unquote, you know, isn't that kind of like, you know, just like what they're saying is the kind of I think what I'm trying to convey is what a lot of these young folk, and you notice a lot on this channel, I've talked about how these are really young people. Like, Yachty is a fucking child, so to judge them for being 18, 19, like, that's stupid to me. And I agree with J. Cole. Like, at that age, all I cared about was getting my dick wet. That's all I cared about at 18. So, like, why was I allowed to do that shit and nobody was judging me per se, but then all y'all are gonna judge these kids for coming in when,
because
like,
they're in a position.
Yeah.
But it's also, but
really,
again,
man,
like, they're in a position where, I don't know. I understand. I understand where you're coming from. Like, if you and I at 18 were acting a certain way, why are we gonna judge? Like,
go listen to the Yin Yang Twins and tell me it's about anything different.
No,
go
absolutely,
to, like,
absolutely. But even Yin Yang Twins
disco.
But even them, like, I can guarantee you, our parents looking at them are like, well, why are they saying shit like that? Like,
but my point is,
they're in a spotlight where they should be a certain way, is what half of society wants it to be.
What way? Like, I'm so confused by that statement.
Instead of talking about how many Xannies you're going to pop and who you're going to run up on, how about, I don't know, motivate somebody to do something?
Why was it okay when Lil Jon was going shot? I
don't think it was okay.
See, that's all I'm saying.
The thing. Like I'm part of that whole shots era. I'm whole part of, like, yeah, that's when they came out with fucking LMFAO.
I just think that at the end of the day, the point is, when people are 18, this is the kind of shit they do. So if you have an 18-year-old making music, what kind of dumbass expectation are you putting on that they should sound like a 30-year-old man? That's, I think, the whole point here. There is no other argument. Any other argument you're making about he said, she said, if I got in trouble because Tupac struggled with being a role model by calling him a hypocrite in any way, how the fuck is anyone calling any of these people anything as role models when, like, this is an oxymoron that these people are put into a position often out of nowhere where they go from fucking around with music to, like, hyper rich. Like, okay, why is this your kid's role model? Like, what expectation does these people have? I mean, I think that you could argue that everybody who's famous, in a sense, is a role model. But, like, who are you to judge the ethics of how that person lives their life? Is a little bit think, especially if they're 18. Look, 30-year-old man rapping about some shit like that, I'm going to be a little more harsh because I'm 30, and I can kind of understand how we're supposed to have aged a little bit at this point. But if I can now be 30, think back at being 18, then I'm like, yo, man, if I was 18 with $1 million, I would go to like all the worst things. I'd be a condescending shit. Like, I'd be what these guys are. So you always see 18-year-olds acting stupid, growing into other people. So all that's different now is they're able to do it without parents controlling their career. So props to these fucking kids. And I think then the song flows into that where you're like, okay, so he like kind of addresses directly that somebody dissed him, which we can all assume is Pump because it was a subliminal. And then he kind of responds by like, first, here's my response, yo. I'm going to congratulate you for your success, how you fucking made it at your mama's house. I hope you can buy your mama house. Corny line, but still good. But I really dig line where he's like, I got some good advice. Never quit touring because that's the way we eat here in this rap game. I'm fucking with your funky Lil rap name and your music. Ah, fuck, I hit the wrong button on my phone with the notes. Okay. A funky little rap name, and because that's the, I like your music, I hear your music, and I know that raps change. A bunch of folks would say that that's a bad thing, because now everything's commercial and it's pop now. Trap drums is the shit that's hot now. I think that's kind of the issue. When you take something that once was easily definable as a counterculture, so a counterculture being opposition to pop, something different, something to reflect the voice of a people, etc., and it becomes pop, it just, you're going to have that transition. Hip-hop is not the underground movement it used to be. Mm-hmm. Hip-hop is not what it was 20 years ago. It is now something that is a global phenomenon and empirically the most popular music on the fucking planet. So a lot of people don't like that because it means you're going to have a lot of dumb shit. But keep in mind, yo, I remember Short Dick Man was a fucking chart topper in the 90s. It's not like the 90s didn't have bullshit fucking party music, right? It's like everyone sounds like the 90s was pure whatever. This type of trash was all over the radios when I was a kid. I heard all sorts of whack-ass lame rappers making lame club bangers about sappy shit when I was a kid. Maybe they weren't talking about lean and drugs, but they were talking about getting fucked up every night. So, I mean, I'm just saying, it's not even like a new phenomenon that there are pop rappers or pop people selling pop bullshit concepts. They were terrible pop role models forever. Britney Spears wasn't exactly the greatest pop role model back in the day based on how it was used. Anyway, I guess I'm kind of a little bit feeling multiple things about the subject matter, not necessarily the track. But then what really kind of hit me is when he started thinking about, you ain't thinking about the foot that's looking like you and me, talking about like how, okay, like, sorry, I skipped ahead. He's kind of like goes on about like how white people kind of see these guys turning up and see these guys as a reflection of black culture, and how as they're getting their money and doing their thing, they're not actually anticipating how seeing how a bunch of Lil somebody or another's acting a fool out in public, or even take a Lil Wayne and how he just blatantly didn't care about anything in society. It makes all the white fans who want to be black deep down inside, but be black based on how they see these particular artists, makes them see all black people in that same kind of lights. And he has like a certain thing about how it's just kind of like a consequence they're not considering. But then he goes on to point out how if you're just a trend hopping rapper, you're going to basically end up fizzling out. You're going to lose money at the tours and shit. And then you're going to be stuck with your car and your jewels and this, but you never bought a house. You never had some wealth. You never did anything right. So you're kind of fucked.
Never really made like the right moves to keep yourself going and invest.
So all I have to say, he kind of goes into this really interesting analytical breakdown of the dangers in trend-hopping pop rappers. While J. Cole, I don't think, was criticizing. So I want to make it clear that I don't think me nor J. Cole are criticizing the young people per se for what they're rapping about. I think a little bit J. Cole is taking a bit of a judging all the old heads equally as much by saying y'all are kind of ignorant and putting too much expectations on these kids. Be that as that may, kids, y'all need to think about it. He's trying to take a more pragmatic middle ground, I think, than most people will. I got this a 5. I thought it was super fucking interesting. I thought it was like the best open letter to young artists I've heard in a long time, and I wish more older folk would take that approach with the kids. They need proper role models. So you can't judge kids for being shit role models and then not be a good role model for them, and therefore J. Cole is not a hypocrite here, so good on him. So yeah, anything more to add on this track? Chris is like, I want to get the fuck out of here. So this is the end of our review. Thank you so much for being here with us. It's a little bit later on Saturday night. It was a late last night, so hangover times for us here if this was whatever. That's not really that important. I gave this album as a whole a 4.65. The reason for that is because I think at a song-by-song level, it might not be like any one of them are my favorite songs. But as far as a concept album, a well put together, thought out project, like there's reasons to go back to here from like a mental stimulation point of view. I think the album's pretty hype for the most part. A lot of these songs are really strong. There's a couple I'm not a huge fan of, but it's stylistic choice, not quality of music. Every song has a point. Every song is well written, and I think it fits the central theme of the album. On top of that, it's a relevant album with a theme that attacks like real social issues of today. In a sense, making it very hip-hop at its core from what it's trying to be. So I really dug this project, and I would highly recommend it to folk. Although it's more on the For Your Eyes Only, I think, than it is compared to like a 2014 Hills Drive. So it is a little bit on that, like, you're going to have to be in a mood for it, you know?
Fair enough. I gave this album a 4.1. I enjoyed it. I think that there's a lot of concepts and a lot of ideas that we can take from this album. Most of the beats on the album I enjoyed. Some of the later beats on the album, I was like, they didn't have the same type of, I wanna go back and hear this. But I also do think that some of these concepts I'm also not in tune with, and I just might be lacking the knowledge to fully comprehend what he's trying to say.
That's interesting. I don't know. I feel like you should look into some of these topics more. They're real valid issues. But I think it's not so much that the topics. I think. And I just want to counter what you said there, but I think it's you don't want to think about some of the things he's thinking because it is in such a contradiction to what you're comfortable with. You spend a lot of time listening, and I mean you in particular, basically if J. Cole's right, you're like past everything you listened to for the last 4 or 5 years is wrong. Or like in a sense it starts to challenge your core beliefs about certain things. And I wonder how much of that is that, you know, more so than anything else. Like, do you really want to think about taxes? No, because then if you start really considering...
No, I think... No. Like, for the taxes part, I just haven't... I think there's a lot of these concepts I haven't gotten around to making time for it. It's not that I don't want to learn. I
think it's about... Like, I mean, if you know how taxes work, you understand how the government fucks you. If you don't know how it works, you really can just kind of aimlessly feel something. But you've been paying taxes for 4 or 5 years now. It's kind of weird that you don't know anything about it. It's just another point. Even just to go back to the taxes song, it's kind of weird how little everyone knows about taxes and then they're all supposed to contribute to. Anyway, I don't know what else to say here.
Not much. It's time to go.
What did you give the album? Yeah,
4.1.
So yeah, thank y'all. Let us know what you thought about this J. Cole album. Let us know if you saw people calling it a classic after 2 minutes of the album being out. Let us know if you like this lyrical, thoughtful J. Cole. I just feel like J. Cole and Kendrick are on like kind of opposite ends of a coin right now on the thoughtful. J. Cole's more of the underground, laid back. Kendrick's more of the hype, polished up top stuff. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. I'm super curious in the comments, and if you do leave a comment and you subscribe and you like the video, you enter into our contest, and we're soon going to break past 1,000 and life will be good. On that note, have yourselves a great evening, and I hope your Sunday, I think this will be Sunday when it comes out, is lovely. Bye, everybody.